Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and for years now, I have been telling you some of this stuff doesn't make sense. The Bitcoin thing doesn't make sense. The Ethereum thing doesn't make sense because they don't work. And the things that do make sense, the entire industry ignores or tries to scare you away from. And that's why the Digital Asset Investor is here. So let's get going, and I'll tell you some of what I'm talking about. First, Gold Telegraph. Janet Yellen says the United States and other countries in the group of 7 could take action to counter China's economic coercion. Of course, the United States doesn't do any of that. Though Treasury officials have said the U.S. can't seek to decouple economically from China, Chinese officials have suggested possible retaliation if its companies continue to face harsh treatment in America. All right, and then you have this. Check this out. Tether put out this, whatever they call it, an attestation of what their holdings are. They hold twice as much precious metals, i.e. gold, than they do Bitcoin. Remember the whole drop gold campaign? Remember how many times over the last few years that I have told you that was BS and that gold's God's money and all that stuff? Look at this tweet from Jason Cousins, CEO of my sponsor, Glint. Gold facts that will blow your mind. If you made a cube from all the above ground gold in the world, it would only be as high and as wide as the length of a tennis court. Contrary to fiat currency, which is printed on demand, the scarcity of gold is the one reason it has proven over a millennia to be the most reliable store of value. Gold is security, Glint is key, and gold is God's money. And Glint's one of my sponsors. If this is an account this is one of my hedges, folks. I do have physical gold. I also have a Glint account, and I have a MasterCard debit card with Glint, so I can literally spend grams of gold. I haven't done it in a while because I kind of just keep mine in my account. But tonight, I'm considering doing Mexican, having a margarita and some cheese dip and maybe a meal too. Maybe some enchiladas. We don't know yet. Maybe I'll go. Maybe I'll use my Glint card. Haven't decided. We'll see. But the link to that is in the top of the description. And if I do use it, I'll take a picture. I was telling my wife, I haven't had my margarita and cheese dip lately. Okay, so then we've got this out of freaking nowhere. Remember all the time that we spent uncovering ETHgate. Remember all the man hours and all the participation by everybody in the whatever you want to call it, XRP Army, XRP Community, XRP this, that, whatever. Empower oversight. See, this is a big problem right here. And just so you know, because I've seen John Deaton kind of say it, the way Empower Oversight is one of those independent, like a nonprofit government watchdog organization. If you're bad guys and you're doing something in government that is either illegal or corrupt, these are the last guys. This is the dog with a bone. These are the last guys you want on you. And these guys watched the XRP Army uncover ETHgate, and they saw enough. And after they had seen enough, that's when they they filed a Freedom of Information Act, and now they're suing the SEC. It says, and this was as of yesterday, Empower Oversight sues SEC in DC court for documents in crypto conflicts controversy. They're directly talking about Hinman. I retweeted that, and I put this was their Freedom of Information Act request. It's the list of people that they, I think communicated with Bill Hinman leading up from May 2017 through the lawsuit against Ripple December 2020. Okay, and this is the list of people right here, okay? And there's a lot of big time people on that list. And then John Deaton retweets this, and he says, someone at the SEC saw the list of names provided by Empower US and said, oh shit, we won't even look for those names. The private sector with bad guys like SB fraud is not the only sector that must be cleaned up. Bad guys exist in the public sector as well. We must clean house. And this is Jason Foster that runs Empower. He says, hey, SEC, this is not a game. The law requires you to do these searches, and you have known it all along. Time for the foot dragging and dishonesty to stop. But serious professionals do the searches and produce the documents. Form our complaint available here. Look at a couple of things that were said. In that discussion, Empower Oversight requested information about the specific search terms the SEC, in other words, that list of names, folks, SEC used to identify communications after they refused, stating that it could not know the names of personnel from those entities. The SEC asked Empower for a list of names to use when conducting searches, which Empower Oversight provided in February of 2022, folks. SEC then refused to search for those names. Refused. All right. Now, then Jason Foster, I don't know if he's still, let's see. He's the founder. Yeah, he's the founder of Empower Oversight. Then he retweeted, this is one of, to me, look, I can see around corners, and for that reason, when somebody throws up a signal, I'm paying attention. He reaches all the way back to a tweet I did on March 1st of 2022. Let me give you some background. You're looking at a guy named Tushar Jain. I told you when we were uncovering ETHgate. And look, I'm not saying Tushar Jain did anything wrong. I'm not saying this crypto man Rand, whatever his name is, did anything wrong. But I am saying that Jason Foster's retweeting this for a reason. I want you to see what the tweet I did said. It said, for years I listened to crypto talking heads bash XRP. I knew in my gut it was not a coincidence. Now we can show ties. There are no coincidences. Listen to the end. We had the video of their own words. We had the timeline. Now we have the list of names. Look below. Now, this guy was from a company called Multicoin Capital. And we talked about this back then. We found out because we got the video, and it's in this video. You'll see it, but I just want to make sure you understand that there's two venture capital firms that were from day one, or for at least one from day one, and then the other one came in. Andreessen Horowitz and Union Square Ventures were the two venture capital firms that were in the venture capital working group that were working behind the scenes with all these law firms to do the memo, which eventually became the Bill Hinman speech and the Bitcoin and Ethereum free pass. Those two firms were both limited partners in his firm, Multicoin Capital. His and this guy right, let me show you. Here's one of this guy right here. This guy's name is, what's his name? I'm going to think of it in a second. But anyway, so those two guys run Multicoin Capital, which their limited partners, two of their limited partners, are Andreessen Horowitz and Union Square Ventures, both of which were working on the Ethereum free pass. And these two guys just happen to go out and they want to make sure everybody knows that they're shorting XRP. Okay? That always bothered me because these aren't dumb guys. It always bothered me because I was watching them and I'm like, why are these guys going out of their way to do this? It didn't make sense to me. I would understand if they, for whatever reason, didn't believe in XRP and shorted it. But when I saw them, it was like, it wasn't just them either. It was a concerted effort. And it was also, Novogratz was doing the same thing, and he's on the list too. And this is why my antenna was up. Now watch this.
Ripple Inc. provides that enterprise.
And then, Ripple Inc. Just so you know, this is back in 2018 when they were out doing their rounds to make sure everybody knew that they were shorting XRP. But they weren't just letting everybody know that. They were floating the idea that it was a security too.
Solely and predominantly responsible for marketing the Ripple products that use XRP and give the XRP token any value. Without Ripple Inc., the XRP token is worthless, absolutely worthless. Why would you need the XRP token if this corporation, which I think is a successful, well-run corporation, but if that corporation did not exist, the XRP token is worthless. If the Ethereum Foundation disappears tomorrow, Ethereum still has value.
The third reason? The third part of the Howey test?
So the third part is with the expectation of profit off of the work of others. Okay. So that they kind of blend together.
Okay. Now let's talk about
Now he's going to tell you who his limited partner is.
fund. You've recently announced that you've got some great investors in your fund. New capital's come into your fund. Who are some of the LPs in your fund?
So we've been very lucky in that we get to work with some of the best investors on the planet as LPs. So we've recently announced Fred Wilson from Union Square Ventures has joined, or Union Square Ventures has joined Multicoin as an LP. Fred was gracious enough to announce this via blog post. He's one of my favorite bloggers. I've been following him for 10 years.
Okay. Now, and then Jason Foster goes on, in addition to our pending litigation in the Eastern District, we've opened a new front in D.C. We had to file the new suit to enforce our December 2022 request because of the SEC's bad faith refusal to search for our list of names it had solicited from us to fulfill its obligations under our initial August 2021. Bottom line, Empower President, here, this is from the Empower President, yet the SEC has consistently stonewalled any attempts to shed light on these clear conflicts of interest at the agency. Now, let's move along. And I want to reiterate, but the reason, the guys on the list, folks, here's the list. This is where I put the names of where they're from. These two guys, these multi-coin guys, two of their limited partners at the time, freaking Andreessen Horowitz and Union Square Ventures, and those guys are all over. There's the A16Z guys, there's the USV guys. They're all over this Freedom of Information Act request list. Here's the other guy from Multicoin Capital. Kyle Samani is his name.
There was some other news this week, too. We have Andreessen Horowitz, one of the leading Silicon Valley venture capital firms, opening their first cryptocurrency fund, $300 million they put into it. It's the first major VC firm to open a crypto fund. You also have a crypto hedge fund. I mean, does this industry need more competition in the fund world? Does this make it harder for you to raise money?
I think it's super.
By the way, folks, I've been blocked by many of the people in this. I've been blocked by Chris Dixon. I've been blocked by Katie Holm. I've been blocked by Mike Novogratz. I've been blocked by Joseph Lubin. But you know what? Any of those people, any of the people on that list, they are more than welcome. I'll have them on my show, and we'll go through all of ETHgate, and they can correct me where we're wrong. I'll play the videos, the timelines. We'll get Joseph Lubin on here and ask him if he can direct us to the disguised whales. Give us a list of all those multiple Ethereum email addresses that bought Ethereum. We'll have them on. I'll get John Deaton on here. We can all talk. I'll do it any day. They can unblock me. We'll all have a discussion any day. Let's do it.
Good thing for the ecosystem. Chris Dixon, who's one of the GPs there, and I think Katie Hahn's the other. Chris is an LP in our fund in Multicoin, so know them for a while. Overall, it's a great thing for the ecosystem. We're talking to a lot of endowments today. So right now we have, for example, shorts open on Ripple and Litecoin. Like Litecoin, in my view, has no reason to exist. It was a fork of Bitcoin. It's just been sitting around.
It's a harsh assessment.
See, look, I would totally understand the Litecoin thing. I've never understood. I don't ever hear about anything. The Ripple thing makes the whole XRP thing makes no sense. And that's why things like this were always had me going, what? What's this guy talking about? What's he up to here?
The investment thesis I've ever heard for Litecoin is it's a testnet for Bitcoin, but that's not an investment thesis. And so, it trades. It's got a 2, 3, 4 billion market cap, whatever the number is. But it doesn't really have a reason to exist. It's clearly more risky than Bitcoin, just kind of structurally in terms of brand and everything else. When we look at Ripple, Ripple they keep selling into the market. Based on kind of the SEC's guidance from a couple weeks ago about Ether being not being a security, it's quite clear.
All right, they're right there, folks. So this guy's limited partners are Andreessen Horowitz and Union Square Ventures, and he's saying last week Ethereum. Now, those are the same companies that were behind the scenes meeting with the SEC the Union Square Ventures guy. I remember it. He's the one that Nancy Wotas said was what gave the presentation to the SEC. So this Multicoin guy's limited partners are giving the presentation, and then just so happens the Multicoin guys want to go on TV and tell everybody, oh, by the way, we're shorting XRP. We don't believe in that because that's probably a security. And I want to know, did these guys know something? That's what I want to know.
That Ripple is a security.
Was Union Square Ventures and Andreessen Horowitz telling these guys anything?
We don't know when that news is going to drop, but the catalysts seem to have kind of gone away from Ripple. And
was there a plan behind the scenes with the SEC?
We have very high conviction that it is a security, and so as kind of the system plays out over time, we think that short will deliver idiosyncratic returns.
So the security label is kind of a designation that kind of dooms these cryptocurrency. I think it's kind of a fatal designation.
So the challenge with being labeled security in the space formally is that not a single exchange in the world today that trades crypto is a SEC registered.
So just so you can see it, I've got my timeline here. You'll see, and it is great too, but mine is not as great as some of them. John Deaton's put a really long one out. Here's that same guy. Now, who does that? Why is he so passionate about bashing Ripple and XRP? What is it? See, that's my question. There's all kinds of red flags there. Now, I also wanted to point out that in the records request from Empower, they've got some additional names in here. It's not just the list that we've been putting out. You need to comb through this too, because I think that Empower is even further over the target than we realize. Yesterday, I was putting out a little refresher. This is Lowell Ness, who was Andreessen Horowitz attorney back when we were uncovering all this. This is Lowell Ness telling you exactly what they were trying to do.
And that's what the Hinman speech, which tracks my memo pretty well, has come out and said. And the Hinman speech has generally said, okay, decentralization, we think, gets both Bitcoin and Ether out of securities law status.
In the words of Nancy Wotas, it gets Bitcoin and it gets Ethereum out from under securities law because what? Bill Hinman says so? Because Bill Hinman said that Ethereum's decentralized? Since that time, since the Bill Hinman speech, we have Joseph Lubin himself on video saying that Ethereum's not decentralized. I mean, it's crazy. Everything that's gone on has been built in a foundation of dishonesty and shadiness, and that's the fact, Jack. And no, they never thought in a million years that we would figure it all out. And this has to be looked at. If we have a country anymore, this has to be looked at. You know, I'm not saying any individuals did anything wrong. I think there's a lot of people that were, like Nancy Wotas is one of them. I think she was acting in good faith. I think she walked out of those meetings back in 2018 and says, wait a minute, I thought we were working on behalf of the whole industry. And you guys were plotting back here. That's what I think happened. Now, I'm not saying which guys were plotting. Now, this is yesterday. I can't remember which conference this was. I think it's OMFIF maybe. But this is, and I'm drawing a blank on her name, but she's one of the regulatory people at Ripple. Yeah, I do. Susan Friedman. I want you to listen to what she says.
It's very possible that the judge could issue a decision that only applies to Ripple, and therefore it won't be clear. There will be many other companies who are stuck in the same regulatory ambiguous state that they are today. The second is it doesn't allow for public engagement, and the best rulemaking, legislative or regulatory process involves that public output, not just from industry, but from academics, from consumers, to really have all parties weighing in, voicing their concerns to get to the best outcome possible. You just miss all of that when you have to go through the courts to reach an outcome, which again, just may not even solve the problem that affects industry.
Now, what she just said is that there's a scenario where Ripple basically gets clarity from this lawsuit, but it doesn't cover the rest of the industry. And I've told you for a long time. Do you remember when this is a Bitcoin maxi woman, and then I added on the Charles Hoskinson video, the part where he was acting so angry or whatever. I've always believed that they both were saying they were hearing there was going to be a Ripple settlement or something, and I believe that the Bitcoin maxis and then Hoskinson and all these other people in the industry, I believe that what they're concerned, I believe they've been sitting there thinking, okay, well, maybe we'll get a good ruling out of this Ripple case. Well, they've gone through stages, and I'm not saying all of them, but I think they've gone through stages. When they first saw the Ripple lawsuit drop, I think the Bitcoin maxis and the Ethereum maxis said, oh, okay, good, SEC's going after them, so we're all good, but they're not. And they were cheering it. Then I think they started seeing us uncovering ETHgate. Then I think they started thinking, oh no, this whole Bitcoin Ethereum monopoly setup that we've got here might be in danger because of what's been uncovered here. Then I think that once they realized that the SEC was going to have no choice but to not let that free pass occur, at least for Ethereum and maybe Bitcoin too, then I think they started saying, oh no, what if Ripple wins this thing? What if they settle? And a settlement only applies to them, is my understanding. I'm not an attorney, but that's my understanding. And that's where I think this is coming from. And they were off on the dates, but I still think this is really them behind the scenes saying, oh, there's a scenario here where...
I know you're expecting a settlement tomorrow in the lawsuit between the potential...
To your first point, when contagion happens, it's because every credit is so fragile. So we do see Bitcoin drawing down, and we can see other assets drawing down as people liquidate in order to cover cover their margins and their shorts. And so I think what's important to know about the SEC and Ripple, and it'll be interesting to see what the verdict will be, is that the SEC charged Ripple with violating securities law and argues that it passes the Howey test. It says that it's a common enterprise, an investment contract, and a common enterprise. And the big thing I want people to remember, no matter what happens tomorrow, is right now you can go to Twitter or Google and you can find Ripple's CEO. And Ripple is the largest holder of its own token. Sound familiar?
Hey, I got something for her, by the way. Anytime you want to go over the Homeland Security video where she says they've met with the 4 Satoshis, I would love to meet with you and the I can't remember her name, the woman from Homeland Security, and let's go over what happened with the 4 Satoshis. What were their names? Let's go over that, because that blows your whole Bitcoin thing sky freaking high.
The CEO, if there's a company, if there's a
I want to know why you don't want to talk about it.
A foundation, an ICO, it's not Bitcoin, and be careful trusting.
I agree with that. It's not Bitcoin.
Life savings to a CEO.
I've heard rumors that the Ripple case will be settled December 15th, and we'll just see. And that could have catastrophic implications for the industry, one way or the other.
Now, the only way it could have catastrophic, there's 2 ways it could be catastrophic for the industry, and that's if Ripple loses, or if Ripple settles, or there's a judgment and then a post-judgment settlement and it only applies to Ripple. And Ripple has no obligation to the industry. Ripple has an obligation to its shareholders, right? I'm the digital asset investor. I'm sorry this video is too long. Wait, let me start over. This might sound crazy to you, but if I don't say it in the right order, I lose my train of thought. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, tell your friends and family. That's what I believe. That's how I believe this ends, is judgment, post-judgment settlement. And that's the fact, Jack. Or it's not a fact, it's what I believe. Thanks for listening.